Good morning. It is officially day 2 of quarantine, and I thought since I was a little bit more settled in, I thought I'd give you a tour. So first thing when you walk in is the bathroom. Like, it's just this little hallway in the bathroom. So here it is. You got a shower. They provide shampoo, conditioner, body wash, and soap. I'm realizing that my hair hates the shampoo. Like, a dandruff situation is about to happen. I can feel it, but just doing my best. Because I didn't bring my own, because I thought, hey, I can just get it when I'm here. So hopefully it doesn't destroy my hair too much. They also provide a hair dryer, which is nice. Lots of towels, and you can ask for extra toilet paper. And they have a bidet toilet situation going on. I don't even want to know what all these buttons do, but who knows. Maybe if I'm super bored, I'll test them out. And we have a mirror. And then we just have the room. So we have one nice bed. And then we have a little shelf. A hot tea kettle, which is nice, so I can make my tea in the morning. And then we have some hangers and some drawer space. And then they also just have this extra mattress. Sorry, my stuff is like all over it, but you just, I don't know, I've seen some people like push it together to make it like a big bed, but I just left it as it is. And then here's my favorite part. We have a desk with no chair. So I end up just like squatting or kneeling with my food because there's no chair. And there's this bench thing, so I thought I could maybe move the bench, but it's attached, so no luck there. And here's the view. It is pretty nice out on the marina. I enjoy watching the sunsets. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but it does the trick, you know? Like, it has everything I need, so I'm fine. Hello, back again. I just wanted to sit down and just explain my process at the airport and how my overall trip went. Because, let me tell you, I am an anxious traveler. See, my hands are already like ringing. Traveling, like, airports really stress me out. The idea of having to get there early and then waiting for a long time, but then, you have to make sure you check in 24 hours before so you get a good seat, or going through security. It just all stresses me out so much, even though I know that I'm fine, you know, like, no one's out to get me, and they're all trying to help me get to my destination, but it always stresses me out. So international travel obviously has added pieces with, you know, your passport, and then with COVID and everything, South Korea has been particularly strict about what you need in order to arrive in the country. So needless to say, I was very stressed in my preparation for this trip, and it was cutting it a little close. So you know how you have to have like a negative PCR test within 72 hours of each flight. And so I had taken 3 days prior to my trip 4 PCR tests, 1 at CVS and 3 at Walgreens, all at different times, so that hopefully, you know, they would come back within 24 to 48 hours and fit the 72-hour time frame. But I guess they were really busy that weekend, and I didn't get any of my tests back until 9:15 the night before my first flight, and that was stressful. God was really like, hey, traveling stresses you out? Well, let me throw you this other thing, so you have to trust me. So that was stressful. I literally ran out of bed, printed it off right away just so I would have it with me. And they are, once they, like, from the moment I checked in to my first flight, once they learned I was going to South Korea, immediately they were like, oh, okay, so let me see your COVID test and all the other stuff. So they're pretty on top of that. For each of my flights, we had to, like, wait in line to show our COVID test, show our passport, and take our temperature. So they were very organized about it. But I didn't end up getting my other test results until, like, during my flight to Korea. So it was pretty on the wire, but I made it, so we're fine. The flight itself, like the long one, I went to Atlanta and then Atlanta to Seoul. And the Atlanta to Seoul one was, I think, 16 hours. We were actually delayed for an hour because one of the flight crew had actually gotten sick. And so they were boarding us, and then they announced, whoops, someone had to cancel, and so now we have to wait for this person to come and replace them. So we're all sitting on the plane for an hour. It wasn't the most comfortable. I am a small person, so traveling for me, I think, is a little bit easier than others in terms of, leg room and being able to have my personal space. But even for me, like, I had a window seat, and then there was a seat between, and then another lady. It was still tight, like the space between the chairs in front and me, so it wasn't the most comfortable. Like, I got sore so fast after like half an hour just trying to find a comfortable position. But thankfully I was able to sleep for about 7 hours, not all at once, but on and off. It was actually a little awkward at one point though, because the lady next to me, so we had the seat between us, and so she wanted to make kind of like a sleeping bag thing with the blankets and to be able to sleep on her side, because first she offered the space to me and I was like, no, I'm fine, like, I'll just sleep against the window. So then I don't know what I thought, but I guess when she said, like, she was gonna sleep, I thought she meant like she was just gonna sleep facing, like, maybe facing sideways, but still have like her legs be like up like this, like just sitting on the second chair, if that makes sense. But no, she straight up like laid down completely so that her feet were touching my legs at one point, and then sometimes she would turn around, and so her head was against my leg. So that was a little awkward, but I was like, hey, like, it's tight space, like, sure. But it was very odd. Like, I would never do that with a stranger on a 15-hour flight, but I guess if that's made her comfortable. And then I was also very stressed about, like, getting off the plane, customs and immigrations, because I had watched tons of videos about what the Korean customs was going to be like, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many steps. And so even though I had, seen so many videos that literally went through it step by step, I was like, can I even do this? Is this going to be too much? And let me tell you, again, from an anxious traveler, I was totally fine. They really are very organized, and they have so many signs up, so many people around, like, directing you if you ever look confused. And well, I don't know if it's just, at least this happened for me, there were no lines in any of the sections because it was just the people on my plane, which was maybe, we were all kind of in a little group, so it was maybe like 20 people, but most of them were actually military, so they had a different immigration process than I did, but we were a very small group, so we never really had to wait. We just went through, and it was pretty simple. As long as you have, all your documents, they are very kind, and it's not like they're rushing you to finish. It's like they want to make sure that they have everything, but they don't want to stress you out or anything, and they all speak English if they need, which is funny because for me, they would walk up speaking Korean to me, and I'd be like, I can understand what they're saying, but I couldn't always answer back to them in Korean. And sometimes it was just contextual, like I could tell, oh, you're asking for my COVID test, or oh, you're asking for like my passport. And so I could just do it without answering in Korean. But there are some times where they would ask a question, and I would be like, and then they would be like, oh, and they would just like backtrack and then start speaking to me in English. But they were definitely confused, because even like in the lines for the customs, you know how like there's foreign passports and then Korean passport, and there's two separate lines whether or not you're a citizen, and they would always like try and point me to the Korean passport line, and I'd be like, 아니요, 미국 사람이에요. I was like, no, not me. I'm not Korean. It was so funny. And then so many times they would ask like, okay, so you don't have family in Korea? Like, are you sure you don't have family in Korea? Like, you're not going to stay with family in Korea? I was like, no, sorry. I probably have family, but, like, I know I'm going to a government facility, like an American citizen. So that was kind of funny. I guess that happened to me the first time as well that I went to Korea. I think I've gotten used to it now. It's just kind of rolling with the punches. But actually, one of the workers at the hotel, like when I arrived at the government facility, he was marking you down for like if you had allergies to any food, or like if you're taking medication. And he actually asked me in Korean, are you more comfortable speaking in Korean or English? I think it's because he saw my US passport, obviously. And even though he asked it in Korean, like, I knew what he was saying, and I was like, oh, 영어, house style, like, English is better for me. And so then he spoke to me in English. And I think that's the first time that's ever happened to me in Korea, where someone has asked me which language I'm more comfortable speaking in, instead of just assuming and just coming out with Korean. So shout out to that guy. That's very kind, for sure. And so overall, I will say that I think, like, as an anxious traveler, you think of everything that can go wrong, and you think of the worst possible outcome, but thankfully God really provided, and it really went quite smoothly, a lot smoother than I expected. And like, here I am. I'm at the quarantine facility, and then when I'm done, I'll go to my Airbnb and be free, I will say the only thing is that my luggage that has all my food from America that I brought, stuff like cereal, peanut butter, things that I really am going to miss in American cuisine. It got wet. The suitcase got wet because it was raining in Atlanta. So some of the boxes are a little wet, but I'm hoping that because everything is, prepackaged, that the food will be fine. But yeah, it got wet, but it's okay, So yeah, if you guys have any particular questions about, the immigration process or how long the flight was, you can let me know. Just ask me, and I'd be happy to answer.